Good day, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about an important philosopher, Gilbert Ryle, and his theory about the mind, which challenged the way people traditionally thought about it. Gilbert Ryle, the self as behavior. Gilbert Ryle, a prominent 20th century philosopher, is best known for his sharp critique of Cartesian dualism. The notion that the mind and body are distinct entities, with the mind being non-physical and separate from the body. In his groundbreaking work, The Concept of Mind, Ryle introduced a transformative perspective on the nature of the self, redefining how we think about identity and personal existence. The university analogy. Ryle's challenge to the internal self. To illustrate his rejection of the idea of a hidden, internal self, Ryle famously used the analogy of a university. Imagine visiting a university campus for the first time. You walk around, see the library, classrooms, sports fields, and faculty members, but then you ask, where is the university itself? The answer, of course, is that the university is not a separate physical entity. It is the sum of its parts, the collective functioning of the buildings, activities, and people. Similarly, Ryle argued that the self is not a hidden, non-physical entity within us, but is instead a concept we use to describe a collection of behaviors, actions, and social interactions. Just as the university is not found in one single place, the self is not some secret internal essence. It is the totality of how a person acts and engages with the world. The self, according to Ryle, is not a mysterious ghost in a machine, but the very behaviors and dispositions that define a person in daily life. The self as observable behavior. Ryle shifted the philosophical focus from searching for an elusive inner self to understanding identity through observable behaviors and actions. He believed that much of traditional philosophy had made a fundamental mistake by treating the self as a hidden core, a private essence that directs behavior from within. Instead, Ryle argued that the self emerges from the way we act in the world, how we speak, move, solve problems, and interact with others. This approach, often referred to as philosophical behaviorism, suggests that mental states such as beliefs, desires, and intentions are not private, inner processes, but can be understood as tendencies to behave in certain ways. For example, when we say someone is thoughtful or intelligent, we are not referring to some invisible mental property inside them. We are describing how they act thoughtfully or intelligently in various situations. By emphasizing behavior over an inner essence, Ryle's theory invites us to see identity as dynamic and constantly shaped by our interactions with the world. It challenges the traditional search for a fixed, unchanging core of the self, and instead encourages us to understand identity as something that unfolds through actions. Rethinking identity. Implications of Ryle's theory. Ryle's view of the self has profound implications for how we understand identity, both in ourselves and others. By rejecting the idea of an internal, hidden self, Ryle encourages us to see identity as fluid and relational, deeply connected to how we behave and the context in which we find ourselves. This perspective shifts the focus from who we are on the inside to what we do in the world. Identity becomes less about introspection and more about action. How we live, how we treat others, and how we respond to the situations we encounter. It suggests that our sense of self is constantly being formed and reshaped by our behaviors and interactions, rather than being defined by some fixed internal essence. In this view, actions speak louder than inner thoughts. To understand someone's identity, we look not to their hidden mind, but to their patterns of behavior, their habits, decisions, and social engagements. Similarly, our own sense of self becomes something that we can actively shape by changing our behaviors and habits. Conclusion. The self as a pattern of behavior. Gilbert Ryle's philosophy offers a revolutionary alternative to traditional views of the self. By rejecting the notion of a separate, non-physical essence and focusing instead on observable behavior, Ryle transformed the way we think about personal identity. He argued that the self is not a hidden core, but the sum of our actions and interactions. This view invites us to rethink how we define ourselves and how we perceive the identities of others. Instead of searching for an inner essence, we should focus on the behaviors, habits, and actions that make up our daily lives. Ryle's theory suggests that who we are is not something we find hidden within, but something we create through what we do. Thank you, and I hope this gives you a clearer picture of Gilbert Ryle's theory of the mind.